Welcome back to Bonn Capitals Baseball. It is a very good pleasure to be here with Tom Paulus, my broadcast mate. I'm Brent Kerrigan. I'm joined by, as always, Angela Beckman and Max Paulus and Fabian Tasing on the cameras. Welcome to everybody who is watching the stream and about to join in as well. And, of course, the fans here at the game today. This is the second game of this series. Yesterday, the Haar Capitals, the Haar Disciples want to build on their victory from yesterday, in which they won 12-9. Of course, the Caps want to do the exact opposite. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't a very good news day for Bonn. The story was the pitching, of course. Starter Titus von Kapp gave up 6 runs in the top of the third. He gave way to Yanni Orfanides and Danny Sanchez and Eric Brank. Following the third inning explosion, Haar got 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, and tacked on 2 in the 9th. Bonn showed signs of life at times and made a run of it near the end with 6 runs split between the 7th and 8th inning, but it wasn't enough. They'll look for redemption here from their ace, Toru Murata, who is on the hill. He'll face Sean Cowan from Haar. To tell us more about the pitchers and really the keys to victory, here's my partner, Tom.
Great to be back with you, Brent, today. All right, the starting pitcher is maybe a bit of a surprise on the side of Haar, but starting off with Toru Murata, who's currently warming up out there on the hill. He's in his 33 innings since joining the team from Japan after Zach Dodson broke his foot. He's been excellent. His ERA is at .882. 25 Ks in those 33 innings and only walked 5 and gave up 3 earned runs. So he's been brilliant so far. And on the other side, it's going to be Sean Cowan. It's only going to be his 3rd start on the season, and he's going to start due to the season-ending injury of their usual Game 2 starter, Steven Norrell. In his 18 innings of work, he's got an ERA of 4, 16 strikeouts, and 16 walks. His fastball sits in the low to mid-80s, and he's really relying on his nasty breaking stuff. So we'll see how far he can go. And keys to the game, what I figured out, it's going to be endurance, first of all. Just 15 hours after the end of yesterday's 4.5-hour marathon, it will be about which team can bundle up their energy better and have the mental and motivational edge over their opponent. And also, of course, theme of this series, the pitching depth. Because for Bonn, they only got Murata and Brank, who already threw yesterday, and some youth and position players left to throw. And for Haar, it's going to be Sean Cowan, yesterday's relievers Andrejat and Steinlein, and some more relievers. But their ERA is all a bit higher, between 6.75 and 12.75. So not a lot left for both these teams. So we'll see which pitching staff can handle the opposing offense better.
That's a great recap and introduction to the game, Tom. And as we saw, Patrick Music has fouled the first pitch off. Toru Murata delivers the second, which is also fouled off. So Music is in the hole, 0-2. And Tom, I really just want to thank you again for, the long hours you put in yesterday. 4 hours and 4 and a bit, actually. Everybody here doing this in the broadcast booth, which is, I would like to add, totally run by volunteers. Unpaid. And so thank you to the many supporting comments on the live stream, especially those from Haar. I know you had to get to bed early last night to get to work at the patent office, so thanks a lot for joining us today. Number 45 in the hole, 1 and 2 is count. Hey, Tom, I got a question for you. Who did you like from the players that you saw yesterday?
Besides the very good pitching of Nick Michelli, of course, all of the players who really stood out offensively were, of course, Callum Murphy for the Haar Disciples. He had a great game, went 4 for 5 with that big home run, 5 RBIs, 2 runs scored.
You see that heading foul.
And on the side of the Bonn Capitals, it was Phildrick Llewellyn who really stood out. He went 3 for 4, also with a home run, 4 RBIs, a walk, a stolen base. So these 2 batters really stood out to me from yesterday's game. We'll see if they can repeat their fortunes today.
Yeah, I was really impressed, of course, by what we saw by Michelli on the mound yesterday from Haar. As Murata rings his first batter up. And Music goes down, bringing up Simon Lechner as the number 2 hitter. I was really impressed by Michelli, as I said, but I was also impressed by Llewellyn from Bonn, who I thought really was one of the players who had that enthusiasm we kept looking for all game. We saw Bonn have flashes of it, of course, and then it faded a bit, but he seemed to be consistent throughout the game. Really nice game by Llewellyn. And that comes in for a strike. Morada, who saw a bit of action in Cleveland, I believe, for about an inning and a bit when he was up with the what they were called then, the Cleveland Indians, and bounced around a bit. He was, of course, in the Japanese league for a while, and now he is, we're lucky to have him here in Bonn as a member of the Capitals, and he joined halfway through the season.
And he's not lacking any experience. He only made it to the majors for one start, but he racked up around 400 innings in the American minor leagues before or it was 600 innings and 400 strikeouts. That was that way around. So a lot of experience out of the 38-year-old starting pitcher, and you can see it in his starts. He just knows his way around facing tough batters, tough opponents, and going deep into games.
Yeah, he's the definition of journeyman. So 2-2 count now, 1 out here in the top of the first inning. If you joined and we're a few minutes behind, I don't think we're that far behind, actually, with respect to a game time start, but the rain had been coming down pretty steady for about a half an hour, and then before that, about an hour, and that has popped, it's heading foul, and it lands just to the left of us in the stands. What are we looking at in terms of velocity on Morada's pitches? Do you have a ballpark figure on that?
Problem with that being we don't have a radar gun that's constantly...
Give me your best guess, though.
All right. I'm going to say mid to high 80s.
Yeah,
on his fastball.
I would say that's about right. And he delivers, and it's fouled back again. So, running through a few pitches is Lechner.
I don't think his fastball is his strongest weapon anymore. Of course, he's got just a bit of age for a ball player, but he's figured out a way to mix up his pitches well, mix up a ton of different secondary pitches to work off that fastball, and that's how he's effective, and struck out 2 batters looking.
2 up, 2 struck out for Morata. Strong way to start this game. And we were mentioning yesterday, in fact, it was one of our keys to victory, and we didn't want to start off perhaps with that as a key to victory today, that what we mentioned yesterday, because we spent a lot of time talking about mid 200. No, actually, when we're being generous, that would be their best 4 players have mid 200 averages, but I think the team averaged around 190 or so. And we said, boy, they're going to really have a hard time hitting Bonn pitching. Well, they didn't yesterday. And, I mean, we see that in the total, 13-9.
Yeah, surely proved us wrong. Very strong offensive showing by the entire Haar lineup. There was no real weak spots all the way throughout that lineup. They really got to the Bonn pitching very nicely and scored 13 runs.
Nate Thomas is at the bat. He's the 3rd batter in the lineup. He's the right fielder. He digs into that bit of a muddy box, but the players really who are in charge of getting the field prepared, I think, have done a very admirable job of preparing things.
Yeah, the tarps were out until about 10 minutes before first pitch because it was just raining pretty heavily. But the field looks all right for now, as long as we don't get too much more rain throughout the day. We'll never know.
That's true. I think the forecast, it's looking good for a couple of hours. If it holds off, that would be nice. There's no wind to speak of at all. It's very still here. We don't see the flags moving at all. Yesterday there was a bit of a gust blowing out to center field at the beginning of the game. And we see a hit out to Joyce in right field, and he's got that no problem. 3 up and 3 down here in the top of the first inning. We'll be right back on Caps TV, where we have no score. Welcome back to Bonn, where there is no score in the bottom of the first inning. It was 3 up and 3 down for the Haar hitters. The hitters from Haar, who are hardly hitting, I guess you'd say. Number 28 on the mound for the Disciples. That's Sean Cohen. But at bat, I'm going to give you one guess who it might be leading off that Bonn lineup today. Initials EB. He's only at the top of the lineup every game for Bonn, and for good reason. He's an incredibly good player, and possibly, as we have been discussing over the last few games, the MVP for the league. That's our vote anyways. He takes a strike. Eric Brank does. 1-1 is the count. Murata, who is Bonn pitcher in the first inning and will remain in the second, and hopefully so on throughout a majority of the game, struck out 2 and had a fly out to right field. So he started strong, as we did expect and hoped. Here the count is 2-1, as Eric Brank showing some patience at the plate early on.
His leadoff at-bats are always a joy to watch. He's a really patient hitter.
Chopper down to shortstop, throw on to first base, but it's wide of the mark, and Brank is on safely to begin the game. So just like that, the Bonn Capitals have the leadoff runner on. That'll bring up Terrell Joyce. He of the league-leading home run count. Brank is a threat to steal on the bases.
Sure is. And talked about that a bit yesterday, and he's got a great steal rate, 19 times. He tried to steal it back 20 times during the regular season, was saved 19 times. So
that's a pretty good average. Big leadoff at first, the delivery. And appeal.
No appeal. He just went.
He just went.
I think.
That was a strike. Yesterday's umpire had a bit of a delayed call. Every umpire, of course, has their own style. Brank not going. Big swing by Joyce, and it goes down the third base line, but foul.
Back-to-back off speed by Sean Cohen to start off Terrell Joyce, and he was just out in front of that. I mean, that stayed up pretty nicely. Pretty good pitch to swing at.
And I think it's safe to say that if the Haar pitcher gets into trouble, if Cohen gets into trouble, they don't have a lot of depth in that bullpen. They've also used a lot of their pitchers. If Bonn doesn't have a lot of depth right now, and Brank goes, throw behind him, and he's safe at second base. There was no throw by Michelli at first base, down to second. They may have had Brank if they had thrown it, but Michelli decided not to. Maybe he decided just don't want to be throwing the ball away this early in the game. Regardless, Brank is at second.
And of course, always a bit risky to try to start that steal to go on first movement by a lefty, because he can just do what Sean Cohen did. He did everything right, step over towards first and basically picked Eric Brank off, but he is just too fast, and Michelli couldn't get the throw off. Stolen base, runner in scoring position early. Yeah,
he had a great lead, and he's going to take third. Throw down, and he is safe. Brank really working to get the game going early on. He slid so hard, he's looks like his belt has come undone. So Brank not afraid to get dirty in this diamond that is a bit wet today. They crowd him around at third as he makes his, works to repair his wardrobe malfunction.
Just great hustle out of him. He legs out that infield single to start the bottom of the first, steals second, steals third, and he's over there now just 90 feet away with still nobody out.
That's right. Who's that young guy from Cincinnati?
Ellie De La Cruz.
That's right.
You think Brank's going to steal home now? He might against the lefty.
We've seen it at the majors. Let's see if we see it here. I think it's a high-risk play, of course, and highly unlikely, but one never knows. 1-2 is the count on Joyce, number 33 at the bat. Still nobody out here in the bottom of the first inning. As Brank adjusts, puts his oven mitt back on. Not being held at third base.
Also, Cohen not looking at him at all.
Not at all. And that one's in the dirt. Throw back down to third base. Not close. And the old trick play is also not successful.
Music really likes that trick of faking the throw back to the pitcher. I've seen him do it a couple of times yesterday.
Yeah. After a few times, it's not a trick, it's a habit. Number 28 on the mound, Cohen, delivers to 2-2 Joyce, and that will come in for a ball to make it a full count.
Worked his way back into the set bat nicely from being down 0-2 quickly. Now count full.
Yeah, I think Bonn, it would, prove to be aggressive, as you were mentioning earlier on, and get some of that spirit back, but also be a little more patient at the plate than they were yesterday, as we see from Joyce, who takes a walk. So Bonn now has runners at first and third, because yesterday, at least in the middle innings where it really seemed to drag, frankly, Bonn was really reaching for some of those pitches, and the pitcher was not delivering in the strike zone at all, and it would have paid off perhaps just to watch a few go.
Exactly. And the play of energy converted a bit into the wrong direction of just getting over anxious at the plate, just trying to do too much, swinging at pitches they probably shouldn't have swung at.
Now comes in for a strike. Brank scrambled back to third base thinking the throw was coming down. I heard somebody say back that might have come from the Haar dugout beneath us, but there was no throw. He's not paying attention, pitcher isn't, Cohen isn't, to Brank at all at third base. He's keeping an eye on Joyce. The delivery, ground ball back to the pitcher, throws on to second base. Throw to first, wide again. That's the second wide throw by Haar, and Brank comes back to third base. He had to make sure that they weren't going to be throwing home on that play. But in the divided attention at second base, maybe thinking of Brank to the right of him, overthrew first.
Very awkward play there because Brank started heading towards home, so I thought they might have a play at throwing it back to third and getting the lead runner and Eric Brank out there, but pitcher Sean Cohen decided to try to turn the double play, and it seemed like there was going to be plenty of time at throwing error.
Yep.
By the shortstop, who, I mean, he seemed to struggle to get the ball out of his glove and get it to first, and he way overthrew Nick Michelli over there.
Yeah, so Wilson Lee at first, Eric Brank is on third, and at the plate, Daniel Lamb Hunt. He almost overthrew that throw over to first as well, but Michelli snagged it. Now the catcher seems to be either repositioning or letting them know that Brank's getting a pretty hefty lead at third.
The Haar defense overall not looking
not great.
Too sharp so far, just a bit. Some odd plays.
Yeah.
Some wild throws. See if that's going to cost them.
Now both teams, of course, again, we mentioned at the beginning, Tom did, that they went through a 4-hour and a bit game last night. So one can understand why they won't be as sharp at both teams possibly as they were yesterday. And yet we did see some errors yesterday as well. So everybody's going to need to grab some coffee and wake up. Number 15, Lamb Hunt. At the plate, a big swing over the third baseman's head. That's a fair ball into left field as Brank scores. Wilson Lee rounds third. He'll be held, and Daniel Lamb Hunt delivers a one-run double to break things open here in the bottom of the first inning at Bonn.
That ball was smoked down the line. He
Beautiful.
waited back nicely on the off-speed pitch and just drove it right into the corner. Barely kept it fair over the third baseman's head, and that was beautiful swing and scores the first run of the game for the Capitals.
That's right, and Bonn draws first blood today, as they did yesterday. Wilson Lee is at third, Daniel Lamb Hunt at second. One out in the inning. And that'll bring up Vinny Aarons, of course, the catcher for today. Lamb Hunt at second takes a look around to see where the outfielders are positioned. He's got bit of speed at second, and Wilson Lee definitely within scoring distance of even on a middling fly ball into the outfield, one would suspect. The delivery to Aarons is a ball. So nice to see some really aggressive swinging out of the gates, Tom.
Yeah, the Capitals hitters are not looking fooled so far by the deliveries of Cohen and putting together some good at-bats, some solid swings.
Had him fooled on that one. That'll bring the count to 1-1. Aarons was, I believe, if I remember correctly, last night he also was there in a bases loaded situation. There was a couple times there Bonn had the bases loaded. That's another part of the story we haven't talked too much about. Missed opportunities in yesterday's game by Bonn. He was on that swing, Aarons was, and just fouls it back, so it's 1-2.
Yeah, they had the bases loaded 3 times in 3 different innings and just left runners on base in almost every inning, and that's what cost them in the end, losing by 4 runs.
A lot of meat left on the bone.
And one more thing I find really interesting, if we look at Vinny Arons' splits, he's a switch hitter, and batting from the right, as he is doing right now against the lefties, that's his natural side. And on the season, his average against left-handed pitching was at .417.
Wow.
So a lot better still from his natural side, whereas his average versus righties was at .262.
Impressive.
So definite split there, and he's been really, really good and effective against left-handed pitching all season long.
Indeed. So, runners second and third. Pop up looks to be heading foul in the right field, and it does. Nobody can get to that ball in Haar. Wilson Lee comes halfway down the line. Lam Hunt is only about 10 feet behind him. He came running in from second, so we're seeing some hustle early. Thanks to the fans who came out to the game today. I know there was some rain, but if you're still at home, you live close, and you're thinking about coming out, please do. Otherwise, we're happy to entertain you here live on Caps TV. So the count is 1-2 to Aarons. Number 5. Looking for a better productive day than yesterday. That one's in the dirt.
They're not chasing so far, the Bonn hitters aren't. They're really seeing the ball quite well so far out of Cohen's hand. I mean, against the lefty pitcher, the entire lineup is going to bat righty, so they're going to see the ball well out of the left-handed pitcher. And so far, the swings have looked pretty solid. The takes have been good, patient at bats.
And he had to wait on that one, Aarons did, and he pops it up to the shortstop, and that'll be the second out of the inning. Runners remain where they are. It's Lam Hunt at second, Wilson Lee at third. And that'll bring up Fildrick Llewellyn, who in yesterday's game had a very productive day. He's the left fielder for the game. Yeah, yesterday Fildrick Llewellyn was 3 for 4. He had a home run, 4 RBIs, 1 run, 1 walk, and 1 stolen base. Now that's a day's work, Tom.
Sure is, and I can see he stayed with his pink batting gloves he changed into yesterday. So those must feel way better than the green ones did.
That's right. We saw him. We saw that mid
at bat.
Mid at bat. That's right. And that's a strike. 0-1, 2 out, 1-0 the score. Bottom of the first inning.
What we saw in Arons' at bat, these hitters, they need to wait back because Cohen not throwing too hard.
And a nice solid hit into center field. Wilson Lee scores. Daniel Lam Hunt right behind him as Fildrick Llewellyn continues from yesterday with his hot hitting.
He was limping around first base, rounding first base, putting a hand to his hamstring on the right side, so that didn't look too comfortable. Hope he's not injured because right now he's the hottest hitter in this lineup.
He's the man. So 3-0 the score here in Bonn, bottom of the first inning. Bonn charging out to an early lead. Now let's remember they did the same yesterday, and as we see Fildrick Llewellyn walking gingerly down that first base line. I think he's reaching lower back area. One hopes that he is okay. As Michelli gives him a playful slap on the butt. Says, nice hit, or something to that effect. Or, hey, buddy. Of course, Michelli, longtime player. On the Capitals, Llewellyn with the Untouchables before that. A lot of these players have known each other for a long time.
A lot of people who once joined the Bundesliga, they tend to stay in the Bundesliga for quite some time, quite big parts of their career. And Llewellyn and Michelli both have been longer time Bundesliga veterans. They know each other.
Danny Sanchez at the plate. Danny saw action not only at third base last night, but he came into pitch, and I recall the score was very lopsided at the time he came in, 11-2 or 3 or something along those lines. And he pitched very well yesterday, given the situation. He takes that for a strike.
Yeah, he just started to struggle a bit in his third inning of work in the ninth inning. Of course, he's not used to pitching a lot. He's just more of a fill-in kind of guy. So he gave up those 2 runs in the ninth. But in the end, they didn't matter, as the Disciples won by 4.
Yep. Gives them some added depth in the pen if they need it. And there goes Llewellyn. He's going to attempt another stolen base. Throw down. He is out at second base as they lay down the tag, and that'll end the inning, but not before Bonn scores 3 runs here in the bottom of the first. So head to the top of the second. 3-0 the score on Caps TV. Bottom of the first. They scored 3 runs. And that'll bring up for the Haar Disciples their big player from yesterday, Callum Murphy, the shortstop.
5 RBIs for him on the day. That big home run that really opened the game up, extended their lead to 11-3 in the middle innings. And he had a great game. 4 hits and 5 at-bats, a walk as well, on base percentage of .833.
Not bad.
He's going to look to keep that going.
No, a very big game by him yesterday. Morata back on the mound, of course, for the Capitals. He's their ace, and they're depending on him today. He's working quickly. The wind-up and delivery on the 1-1 count is fouled back, making it 1-2.
Also a good game for him. At least in the regular season, Callum Murphy was the second on the team in strikeouts. He struck out 27 times in 67 at-bats, so got the bat to the ball nicely yesterday and didn't strike out.
Yeah, let's see how he handles Morata today. Way out in front of that one. Throws down, a little off speed.
All 3 of the strikeouts from Morata so far have come on sliders. Feeling that pitch nicely so far. I got 2 of them looking on front door sliders that just came back into the strike zone. Now I got Murphy to chase one.
Yeah, he's faced 4 batters. He's only thrown 24 pitches so far. As you said, 3 of them was strikeouts. Not a bad way to start. Looking for consistency, of course, over time as the raindrops begin to fall here in Bonn, but very lightly. At least I believe I saw a few. But these Bonn fans aren't going to mind a little bit of rain. They're a little sturdier than, say, some of the suburbanites in Haar.
Of course, fewer people than yesterday's game. Who can blame them?
And that comes in for a strike, 1-1. 1 out here in Bonn. 3-0 is the score. And somebody's dancing beside me.
It's cold and I have to move.
Angela's saying it's a little cold. As that ball goes foul. I think it's just perfect. For a Canadian, I think it's just perfect.
Not getting too hot today, that's for sure.
I have cold hands, but today I have cold hands.
Yes, we've been up in this booth quite a bit in the last couple of days, and we're largely sitting, so it gets a little chilly sometimes. A little bit of a breeze, but it's always good to be watching baseball. It's the way I like to spend my weekend. I think I could safely say that's probably the majority view for all of us. As long as the Capitals seem to be winning, it makes it a lot easier. But, of course, a nice competitive game. Really great to watch. As a number out to second base. Brent comes in, picks it up onto first, but not quite in time. It was a valiant effort, but it just was, he just beat out that throw.
Great effort by Brent on the barehanded pickup there. That was just hit too slow and nobody could get there in time.
Yeah, and we're reminded that was Rosenthal who led the Disciples in stolen bases. So we see that he's indeed got some speed.
12 stolen bases for him on the season.
The replay shows a very close play at first base, but it looked to me indeed like he was safe.
Good hustle out of him.
Some good action on the replay. We are crack production team up here. Morata, first base runner he's had to deal with all game.
We'll see if Rosenthal takes off. Murata rather quickly in his motion to the plate.
And that's a hit down the left field line. Oh, through Llewellyn out in left field as he slips now. It's wet out there trying to get to the ball. Llewellyn is going to score, and that's a triple for William Thorpe. So, yeah, we had there's some trouble out there in left field as the ball got through his legs, and then that slip out there, not easy to be fielding. And now it'll be forewarned, I guess, as the ball comes out there again. But we've now got a 3-1 score here in Bonn, and that'll bring up Nick Michelli.
Nice piece of hitting by Thorpe, though. That ball was hit quite hard, and maybe Llewellyn, we saw him limping first after his base hit back in the bottom of the first, so maybe that played a little bit of a role in that as well.
Yeah, it's very possible, and one hopes, of course, that he's all right out there. I see him out there adjusting his glove, and probably feels bad about that, but let's say the weather played a key in that one, and maybe a bit of the injury as well. In any case, the count for Michelli is 1-0.
And Thorpe kind of taking a running lead out there at 30s. Getting way off the bag.
Probably hoping to divide attention.
He's got some pretty good wheels for a catcher. Saw him leg out some extra bases yesterday. And now the triple, of course. I mean, it was scored a single and an error by Llewellyn, but of course.
Yeah, big lead down the line. He's not being held on at all. So that's chopped down into the Haar Disciple dugout just beneath us. Yeah, he's really hustling into third base. Always exciting to watch a triple.
The DJ here at the ballpark remembering Nick Michelli and his walk-up song from the last season, still playing it, even though he's the opposing Haar Disciples now.
I have to admit, it's one thing that drives me absolutely insane about watching baseball in Germany is that they play the music between pitches. It's not something you'll see anywhere in the United States or Canada. There. Get off my lawn. It's too windy, etc. This old man is done with the rants.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what I grew up with here in German baseball. It's just, you see it in almost every German ballpark, and that's just what we're used to.
Yeah, we see Thorpe running down the line here as a pokes one out into right field. That's going to fall in there as Joyce grabs it, and that's a single for Michelli and drives in the second run for the Disciples. So it's a tight game here, 3-2.
That was Pinheiro already after Michelli struck out.
Thorpe, however, indeed did come in to score. So Pinheiro got the single. Now bring up Neil Schmidt. He's the number 9 batter. He's the left fielder for the Disciples. So Murata started the game very strong. 2 strikeouts and then another one here in the second. But since then, has run into a bit of trouble as strike comes in.
No earned runs for him still so far, both credited to the error out there in left field. So at least keeping his ERA intact in the playoffs. Not that he would care about that. He only cares about winning this game for the Capitals.
Yes. Two and two the count. Sorry, 0-2 the count. Yeah. Looking at the number of outs, which is 2.
So far, Neil Schmidt not catching up to the fastball by Murata, so he might just go back to that.
Yeah.
3 straight fastballs.
Good call on that, Tom. And that'll end things, but not before Haar scores 2 here in the top of the second inning. We'll be right back with the bottom of the second after this on Caps TV. Welcome back to the game where the score is 3-2, already hotly contested here in the bottom of the second inning. Danny Sanchez comes to the plate.
We figured there might be some more offense today after yesterday's 22 runs. But of course, talked about it several times. The pitching staffs, probably the offenses might have the upper hand in today's game. See another high-scoring one.
Yeah, Sanchez, I see, got an RBI yesterday.
Yeah, one hit for him yesterday. A run scored, an RBI. It was 4 at-bats.
Hey, did that pitch hit him or bounce in there first?
He just got out of the way.
Yeah.
Protecting his ankle. Don't want to get hit there.
No, good idea. Especially if you may need his arm in, in the pen at some point. Keep them healthy, boys.
Eric Brink, who only threw to 4 or 5 batters yesterday, he will probably be the first option out of the bullpen.
Yes.
But after that, who knows?
Cowan hanging in there. Bit of a rough first inning where he gave up 3 runs. Bonn, both teams have 3 hits. Bonn, 1 more run, 3-2, as that's foul tip.
But that swing looked, at least to me, it looked a bit better than some of the swings we saw out of Sanchez yesterday, where it just didn't look comfortable at all.
No.
Stepping kind of out of the batter's box while swinging, chasing pitches, so that looked more like his swing again.
That front foot planted back, steps in. They didn't like that call necessarily below us.
And Cohen already at 32 pitches, and he's just starting his second inning of work. They will have to fill 9 innings with pitching. Both teams will have to do that.
That's foul down third base line. Broken bat. I may have missed that. No, not a broken bat. Bit difficult to see. I got this monitor in front of me here as I look over. No lumber on the yard. Sanchez back in, full count, nobody out. Bottom of the second, 3-2 is the score. Bonn has 1 error in the game, none for Haar. Out in front of that one, as that one's popped up, second baseman and shortstop come in. It's the second baseman that grabs it, and that'll be the first out of the inning. 1 up, 1 down. That's Lechner who grabbed it, and that'll bring up Luis Martin, who is the second baseman for Bonn.
So he gets the start today over Anthony Klinsing, who's not in today's lineup. Seen them do that a couple of times throughout the season, give both these guys a chance to start a game. Luis Martin, of course, elite defender, has been struggling a bit at the plate. He has shown some good moments. For example, I always bring up the Champions Cup, where he was one of the team's best hitters, batting .375. So he's definitely got some potential in him.
He skies that one. Again, second baseman. Lechner camps under that and grabs it. 2 up, 2 down. Circle 4 and circle 4. That'll bring up the number 9 hitter for Bonn, Danny Langhorst.
That's always something pretty much bound to happen with a slower pitcher. Pitch is just falling down onto the bat a bit. You might just cut under that trying to lift the ball somewhere. Just get way underneath that, pop the pitches up, as we've seen back-to-back times now.
Comes in for a strike on 1. Langhorst takes a look. We saw the Disciples pitchers settling in after that first few innings in Bonn. It was Michelli yesterday. And once he got settled in, he was hard to beat. As that one bounces down to third, on to first, and that'll end the bottom of the second inning. Just like that, 1, 2, 3. We head to the top of the third. 3-2 is the score here in Bonn for the Caps, and we will be right back after this on Caps TV.
Wer so aussieht, kann kein Vorbild sein? Wer solche Nägel trägt, ist fake? Frauen verstehen nichts vom Game. Are you mad, Mann? Ich bitte dich. Und Rap ist nur für Männer? Check das lieber nochmal.
Und Typen wollen mir irgendwas erzählen. So und so hat deine Frau sich zu benehmen. Wenn du das so gut könntest, dann brauch ich es nicht, okay? Denn seit du doch diese Frau hast, du mit mir ein Problem.
Und wenn du denkst, die Telekom ist teuer? Check mal das hier.
Welcome back to Bonn. The score is 3-2 in favor of the Caps over the Disciples here in the second of the semifinal. You know what, Tom? We talk about people not being recognized. We haven't introduced the umpires yet. Tell us who's umpiring where.
Kevin Muzic behind the plate, Andreas Danielczyk is umpiring first, and Harald Fötzky umpiring third, so same crew as yesterday. They just rotated around a bit. I was just talking to you about it. Kevin Muzic, he's really been getting up there and getting recognized as one of Europe's better umpires. I saw him umpire the championship game of the European Champions Cup, which of course is a pretty big, pretty important game, so he got the honors to do that, and it really shows he's one of the better umpires that we have in Germany.
Yeah, he's reliable back there behind the plate as we see 1-2 count, and that's grounded out to Brank, who scoops it up. Ball's in at first base, but it's snagged by Lamb Hunt, and he's out. 1 up and 1 down here in the top of the third. And you're an umpire yourself, aren't you, Tom?
I am, and I really like his presence back there. Very clear in what he does. Very good as well, in my opinion. His strike zone is always very consistent, very solid, what it's supposed to be like. You rarely get it with him that he's even recognized in the game, because usually you only think about the umpires when they're doing something wrong. You rarely, if we're being honest, that's the only time they get too much attention, and you rarely get that with Muzic. So,
Jeez, what's that feel like?
couldn't tell you. I didn't have too many people complaining about my umpiring yet.
No, but what is the hardest, as we see a strike come in now to Lechner, what is the hardest thing behind the plate if you're doing a game? Yes, if you're doing a 4-hour game like yesterday, I assume it's the length, but
that's exactly what I wanted to say. It's the games that get really long, and you both, when they take 4.5 hours like the one yesterday, or also when it's blowout games and the score is 20-3 after 3 innings, and you know you have to umpire like 3 to 4 more innings behind the plate, especially in the summer heat. It gets tiring out there, but it's a fun job to do, in my opinion.
So that comes in for a ball that's 2-2, 1 out, 3-2 the score here in Bonn in favor of the Caps. High pay drop. Umpiring?
Not too much. I'm not exactly sure what they earn in the Bundesliga.
Smacked into center field for at least a single. That is Lechner. He rounds first. Signals to his teammates just below us.
Especially in the youth leagues or the lower leagues in Germany, it's usually around 20 to 25 euros for a single game, around 40 to 50 maybe sometimes for a double header. So it's definitely, I don't think I've met anyone who does it just for money purposes.
No, exactly, and that's my entire point. The next time you're watching a youth game, screaming at the umpire, if you're in the stands, I know not everybody does that, of course, but remember, they're not doing it for the money, they're doing it for the love of the game, and it's a contribution to the game itself, here, especially here in Germany, where baseball may not be at the top of every sportsman's mind. Here the count is 1-0 to Nate Thomas. He's the right fielder. On first base is Lechner. Grounder snagged at second. Pops it over to the shortstop, Brank, and they've got him. But
An awkward dive there. I think he landed awkwardly on his hand or on his...
It was a pretty play, though. Pretty play as it went out.
He had an awkward landing. Is it what it looked like from my perspective? Injured probably around his left hand area. It's not looking good. He's still on the ground.
He's getting up now, but still, might be he may have been winded, of course. That's Lewis Martin, of course, we're talking about, number 19. Really nice to get to that ball and to get up, even though he may have been injured on that play, or at least winded in some form. But I think he's going to stay on the field as he gets a pat in the back.
That was a beauty of a play. A really good stop on a hard-hit ball to his right. He still managed to get it off to Eric Brink to at least get the lead runner out.
Yeah. So, 2 out now in the top of the third.
And his teammates, of course, loving that play.
Yes. 4-6 on that if you're scoring at home. Nate Thomas at first.
The defense definitely the strongest part of this kid, in my opinion, at least. He can play everywhere. We have seen him play second, play short, play third. He even caught a few games, played right field. He's always looked really, really good defensively. So, nice addition for the season for the Capitals defensively.
Yeah, put a star on that. Big swing and a miss there by Callum Murphy. Callum Murphy, of course, as we had mentioned his previous at-bat, big game yesterday for the Disciples. He flew out to Terrell Joyce in right field in his first at-bat in the first. As Moretta sets and delivers, way out in front of that one is Murphy.
He's not seen the slider yet. So far, struck out on the same pitch, and when he chased it back in the first. And way out in front of that again.
Yeah,
Wouldn't be surprised to see it come straight again out of Murata.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going to see.
I think you're right, Tom. If it works, do it again.
Saw that one, though.
Yeah, he saw that. Nate Thomas getting a fair lead at first base.
He stole 4 bases on the season, so not too many, but also
He is a threat.
third on the team in stolen bases.
Murata delivers. Runner not going. Swing and a miss. And that'll be the 6th strikeout by Murata today as the inning ends. No harm done. 3-2 the score in favor of the Capitals. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Check this out.
It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before, because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow. First thing.
No time for borders. Gotta stay in control to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
Das ist Mia. Mia hat zu Hause einen richtig schönen Designboden, der aber auch leider oberflächige Schäden und tiefe Kratzer aufweist. Dr. Schutz hat dafür die Lösung mit Produkten für die Reinigung und Pflege, wie das Designboden-Pflegeset und um tiefe Kratzer zu beseitigen, das Scratch Fix Repair Set. Und damit Mia genau weiß, wie man ihre Böden zu Hause perfekt pflegt und schützt, gibt es unsere Tutorials auf dem Dr. Schutz YouTube-Channel. Für Mia und euch alle. Damit muss sich Mia nicht mehr um ihre Böden sorgen, sondern kann ganz beruhigt unsere Caps anfeuern. Go Caps! Das ist Mia. Mia.
Welcome back to the game. Eric Brink steps to the plate. He really got things moving in the first inning. In his first at-bat, he singled and decided that wasn't enough, so he stole second, decided that one wasn't enough, and he stole third. Well, he takes that one for a strike. Cowan's still on the mound for the Disciples, and one would suspect as long as they can ride that horse, he will be out there because there's not a lot of depth in the bullpen. Neither for either team, really. That one's inside.
We're just in the second game of the playoffs, but brings average and OBP back to what we know from him, OBP of 571 so far.
There you
so
go.
even better than during the regular season, of course, it being only the second game, so small sample size.
Yes.
But he's not cooling down so far, from what we can see.
I'd like to apologize to fans for that Boston Red Sox T-shirt we can see in the background there. We'll try and remove that as quickly as possible. And that one's high as well. And 3-1 is the count. Now, it's always good to see, especially when you're in Bonn, a very international city, people come to the ballpark with jerseys of all kinds of teams from all kinds of different places. And it's always fun. It's a good way to strike up conversations or the odd fun little argument. And that comes in for a strike. 3-2 now is the count.
It's the only place worldwide where I've seen more Detroit Tigers hats and jerseys than Yankees. I mean, you rarely see any Yankees hats around here. See quite a few Tigers.
Suits me just fine. Lack of Yankees hats. And that's a foul into the right field side seats. Kids scrambling for it. Nice to see some kids out to the game today. We've got a good turnout today, I think, for what really looked to be terrible weather to begin the game, Tom.
I mean, it was still pouring like 10 minutes out from first pitch. That's why we started just a couple minutes late.
Foul back again into field number 2.
It's gotten pretty nice, even though there's a bit of wind picking up just now. So we'll see how that...
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the flags out in center field. That wind seems to just whip around this area a bit, and it's not... I'm not sure if it's reaching that field. Let's see. Let's see if it makes a difference in the game. There've been a couple of hits into the outfield so far. As Brink takes 3-2 delivery. And that will be a walk. So they put Brink on. Not intentionally. He who stole two in the last inning. I'm sure they'll want to keep an eye on him. See if they can hold him at bay. Nobody out, of course. And that'll bring up Terrell Joyce.
Very solid plate appearance once again for Eric Brink. Worked the count full, fouled off 2 close pitches, and then took the breaking ball for ball 4. So he's on to lead off yet another inning.
So fans, keep an eye on Brink at first base. We'll keep you updated. Brink not going. Pitch into Joyce, who walked in his first at bat, is a ball. 1-0 is the count.
And surprising stats for him, for Terrell Joyce. Throughout the regular season, he's a right-handed batter, but his batting average against left-handed pitchers is down to .091, whereas he's hitting righties with a batting average of .424.
Dugout, and Brink has got to go back to first base.
I mean, Michelli he's got to feel the 116 pitches he threw yesterday, both in his arm and in his legs. It's got to be quite exhausting for him to be out there, so...
Yeah, I agree. It was a pleasure to watch him pitch yesterday. Of course, we know him well here in Bonn. Fans appreciate the effort, I'm sure. As another throw over, nothing doing. Of course, they're keeping him close. But Michelli had a lot of expression on the mound yesterday when he was throwing, and it was very interesting to watch, very entertaining as well. Brink still gets a very big lead out there at first base. The throw in is not going, and that's a ball.
Really off speed at the moment to Terrell Joyce. Maybe that's the scouting report on him. Dangerous hitter. So the Disciples coaching and pitching staff will have done their scouting and figured out how they want to attack Terrell Joyce.
Yeah, so another throw over, and he's not going.
You can see the expression on Michelli's face every time he has to throw it back.
Yeah.
Got to feel the pitches of yesterday in his arm.
That's the big swing and a miss by Terrell Joyce. That's the difference between the minors and the majors. Of course, here in the majors, you throw that many pitches as Michelli did yesterday. You get some nice rest. You got the team doctors out there. You've got your nutritionists helping you along, few jacuzzis, few ice baths. Here, Go scrape the mound.
Go water the field.
As the pitching coach comes out now to talk to his pitcher, it looks like there's something happening now with Cowan. It looks like he's got some muscle tightness in the back of his left. Is it his left leg or right leg? Looks like he's taking a little walk around, as you see. Not sure what the issue is. He's grimacing a bit. He just needs a breather out there. Let's take a look at the game so far. Back in the first, Daniel Lamb Hunt doubled on an 0-1 count, scoring Eric Brank, moving Wilson Lee to third. Then Phildrick Llewellyn singled on an 0-1 count. Wilson Lee scored, and Daniel Lamb Hunt scored as well. And that made the score 3-2-0. William Thorpe safe at third on an error. This is for Haar. In the second, on the air by Llewellyn, scoring Joseph Rosenthal. And in the second, Mia Pinheiro singled on the first pitch, scoring William Thorpe. Bonn, in today's game, has one error. They've got 3 runs, and that's on 3 hits, whereas Haar has 2 runs on 4 hits and no errors.
Still unsure what is happening with starter Sean Cohen. Doesn't look comfortable at all. That, of course, would be devastating news for the Disciples. Or lacking their starting pitcher for game 2 anyway, and it looks like they're signaling they'll have to make a pitching change, and that's, of course, not what they're planning on doing.
No, and one has to feel for Cowan. It looks like he's in real pain out there. He's on our left-hand side here. He's shaking his head and really looking at the ground. I saw him grabbing at his chest a bit there as well, so hopefully he's okay.
It's going to be a bit of a longer break, though,
yes,
because, of course, injury-related pitching change, so new pitcher will get all the time he needs to get warm.
Yeah, and so we'll take a little break, and we'll be back here to complete the bottom of the third inning. Right now, the score is 3-2 in favor of Bonn. We'll be right back on Caps TV. The Bonn Capitals over the Disciples, and there has been a pitching change, and we have coming in place of Cowan, we have a gentleman by the name of Tom Kruger. Not sure if he's any relation to Freddie. Can you tell us a bit more about him, Tom?
Not too much that he's done, not too much work out of him all season long. Started just 1 game through a total of 4 innings, allowing 3 runs while walking 5 and striking out 2. ERA of 6.75. Maybe to make the start from a bit easier, already got count at 2 balls, 2 strikes against Terrell Joyce.
Yeah, Brank's on first base. Remind everyone that he stole second and third in the last, back in the first inning. And that's hit foul. Sky's darkening here in Bonn. We're really hoping we can avoid too much more rain, make sure that we get this game in. The forecast seems to be forever incorrect, so a lot of this is a guessing game. The wind is blowing a bit out to center right now.
I mean, they will have to play up to 3 games in the upcoming weekend in Haar.
And
so
Brank's back. Yeah.
They can't really, I mean, they have to play. We'll have to try to play at least 5 innings to make this a complete game.
And they're a lot hardier than the major leaguers. They'll probably try to pack it in even if it does start coming down fairly hard. Brank, big lead at first base. Nobody out here in the bottom of the third. Throw back over. That'll be, the 4th or 5th throw back to check on Brank. And frankly, I would do the same. Brank's getting a bit of a workout there at first base. Back and forth.
This belt that was already struggling when he stole third. Getting some more traffic.
Yeah, not sure what happened to the pitcher Cowan. Really, we're just guessing. He looked really out of breath, like he maybe a blood pressure issue or something. But again, we're just speculating, and one shouldn't do that when it comes to others' health. The fact remains he's out of the game, and Kruger is now on the mound, and the count is full now on Terrell Joyce. Eric Brank at first. That pitch is down, and 2 walks in a row. 2 different pitchers. Bond's got something brewing. Runners at first and second. Brank at second. Joyce at first.
And of course, the control seems to be the main issue for Kruger on the mound. Walked 6 batters in his 4+ innings he threw so far this season, while only striking out 2. So we'll see how long he can throw, because they're going to need him for a couple of innings, one would imagine.
Yes.
And if he can find the strike zone consistently. Also, a bit of an odd arm slot he's throwing from that very, very low 3/4 slot.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, Tom. It is a really strange-looking delivery. Throws that one in for a ball. That's Wilson Lee at the plate. He's, 0 for 1 today, but he did come around to score.
There is some more action already out there in the Haar bullpen, I think. They just sent everybody they have left out there to stretch a bit.
Yeah.
Themselves warmed up, so they're ready to go.
Once we get into the bullpen for both teams, it's a bit of a mixed bag. A big chopper down to third. Reaches over, tags Brank, throws to second, but safe at second is the call. We hear some calls of protest by the Disciple dugout beneath us here.
Terrell Joyce made that a bit closer than it had to be. He didn't slide into the bag. He just ran all the way and stepped with a big step onto second base, but just barely safe.
That'll put Wilson Lee at first, and as mentioned, Terrell Joyce at second. I think he probably, if he had to do it again, probably be sliding in. Daniel Lamhunt, he's the first baseman today for the Capitals. With 1 out, steps up. Delivery, in for a strike. Pitch does have some pop.
Yeah, some pretty good velocity out of Kruger. Couldn't quite imagine it from the way he's throwing, but he's got some good velocity.
Terrell Joyce, big lead at second, not going. And that pitch gets by the catcher, and Joyce and Wilson advance. Runners at second and third now for Bonn with 1 out.
That seems to be the main issue, constantly locating his secondary stuff, his changeup, his curveball. Trying to get that in the zone.
Yeah, that was a hard one to snag for the catcher. Two runners on base for Bonn. Joyce talking down to, talking with the third baseman at third. And the 0-1 delivery. That comes in for a strike. So Lem Hunt finds himself in the hole 0-2, and he asks Musish, the umpire behind the plate, if that truly was a strike. And Musish says, why, indeed, that was a strike. That's why I called it a strike.
It looked like a pretty good pitch over the inside corner.
Yeah.
Pretty similar pitch to the first strike that was called against Lem Hunt.
Fans want some action. Delivery. And he strikes him out. And that was down the heart of the plate, so it's hard to argue with that one. That's 1 out now. That'll bring up Aarons. Aarons flew out to, popped out to the shortstop in the first inning.
I feel like the approach Hunt took there was a bit odd. Not aggressive at all against the reliever they know is not used to pitching that much in the Bundesliga this season, and now a high pressure situation for him. threw some pretty good fastballs to hit, but Lampard couldn't get the bat off his shoulders. Stuck there looking.
I'm wondering if that's not a reaction from last night where we did see him being a bit too aggressive at the plate. So it could be a response to that. Maybe not. Throw down to third base. The third baseman pretends to let the ball go by, but Joyce is back at third, not being fooled by that at all.
He's really a big fan of all sorts of hidden ball tricks.
Yeah, he's fooled. He's about 0 for 5 on the old hidden ball trick this last 2 games. So I'm thinking maybe a different approach could be helpful. Right. So the count on Aaron's 2-0.
They're shifting him a lot again now that he's batting lefty.
That's
Second baseman all the way out in short right field.
Good observation there, Tom. It's a little unfamiliar now. Now that the major leagues has not banned it, but not allowed to do that. So it's odd to see that shift again.
But the third baseman is not.
No,
he's playing his usual position, so there's a big hole there between where the shortstop is positioned and the third baseman.
That comes in for a strike as well. So 3-1 is Kenny's watching the whole way. Essentially what you want to do is hit it to Wilson Lee, who's out there at second base where he's leading off to. You hit it there. You got both runs coming in. So catcher goes out to talk to Mr. Kruger. Gives him a quick word of encouragement, maybe a tip of some sort, and gets back behind the plate. Terrell Joyce talking to the third baseman, Music, maybe discussing the lack of effectiveness of that hidden ball trick. 3-1 the count, 2 out. 3-2 the score in favor of Bonn.
I've never seen that. I mean, you see it in the under 12, under 15 games. You see the kids trying it a bit more often, but a big part of a hidden ball trick is the element of surprise. And once you start trying it several times per game, it really gets a bit predictable.
Yeah, he's got to quit reading the live stream baseball comments by the Haar fans. Anyway, another walk down to first base, that this time by Aarons. Finds himself on base. It's a bit rare so far these first 2 games. That'll bring up Llewellyn, who's got the sacks full. Sacks full and 2 out. Yeah, there's some truly horrendous comments on the live stream yesterday. I'm wondering if they had seen a baseball game before. This isn't football. I know maybe that's what you're wishing for, but, keep trying. Number 23, Llewellyn, was caught stealing back in the first inning.
He's super hot right now, batting 800 in the playoffs. In his 5 at-bats, got on base 4 times, also walked.
And a hit up the middle, and that'll cash in a few. Joyce scores. Wilson Lee chugs home, and he scores. No play by the catcher who had the ball. So that'll score 2 runs, make it 5-2 for the Bonn Capitals. As Phildrick Llewellyn continues his super sizzling hot streak with 2 ribbies.
Really important. Really good job by the Capitals to keep piling on here against a pitcher that might be considered not the strongest in the Disciples pitching staff. Of course, they're missing their starting pitcher, Stephen Norrell, pretty badly, as you can tell right here. He went around 6 to 7 innings almost every start. Really provided a lot of great support from the mound for the Disciples all throughout the season. Had a good ERA of under 3. And when that just falls away shortly before the playoffs, that's gonna be hard to compensate.
Yeah, some really, really nice hitting by Bonn, taking advantage again of this pitcher who does not have a lot of experience pitching. Sanchez takes one, brushing him back a little bit from the plate. 1-0 is the count. 2 out. That was a hit. Those 2 ribbies came on 2 out, making the score 5-2 here on the bottom of the 3rd. Danny Sanchez wanting to get in on the action as well, I'm sure. That comes in for a strike, and Sanchez not in full agreement.
Good changeup that stayed up a bit.
Yeah.
It turned out to be effective, as that one fell right in there in the top of the zone.
Aaron's laughing at second base. Been laughing for the last minute or two. Might be something funny out there. And Aaron's at second, and Phildrick Llewellyn at first. Chop foul. Music comes in. Really hoping to let's see if he pulls the old hidden ball trick here on the foul ball. Oh, no, not this time. The count is 1-2 on Sanchez. Number 41 sets on the own, steps off. Really, and again, we're dishing out lots of compliments here today. Let's give a compliment to Mr. Kruger's really nice mustache. He's got it going on. There's some really great mustaches on that Haar team.
There is, eh? I mean, they got to get a great barber down there in Haar.
Yeah.
Because the playoff stashes, they're on point all
Well,
throughout the team.
Tom, it is the patent appeal office in Haar, so maybe they've got the patent on mustaches, great mustaches, so lots of credit to them there. That is, I mean, we couldn't come up with a great list of redeeming qualities about Haar, but maybe that's one. Delivery. And a chopper down to first base while second baseman grabs it. The pitcher comes over, and he's safe. He's safe. As Aaron comes around to score, and that's 6-2.
Amazing hustle by Danny Sanchez, who never gave up on that play. Saw that it was going to be a bit of an awkward play with Michelli trying to get to that ball, and then it was the second baseman flipping towards the pitcher, Kruger. And as we can see on the replay, very close play, but he just got his hand in there. Full-on
nice
dive, as you can see nicely. Just before the ball gets into the glove, he's sliding in there.
Clearly safe. Not a question about it. Yeah. Number 19 at bat. Pass, ball, throw down to third. He is all right.
And he's trying the hidden ball trick again. Still got the ball in his glove.
Oh, this time it's going to work, Tom. This time it's got to work.
Llewellyn almost crossing his arms in front of his body like, what are you trying to do, man?
So
It's a bit absurd, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I've never seen that in the Bundesliga.
I see Llewellyn laughing down at third. I think I know what he's laughing about. So Lewis Martin at the plate. He is the number 19, of course, we were talking about. Sanchez at first base, Llewellyn on third, 2 out. That's a 2-0 count.
With runners on first and third, 2 outs. Might be some movement out there on the base paths for the Capitals.
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
try to stay aggressive, and they've been aggressive on the bases all game. It's worked out so far. Danny Sanchez, 5 stolen base on the season.
Yeah, that comes in for ball as well. Yeah, why not? Send him. Let's get that score up. Especially from yesterday, as we saw, a lead is not necessarily a secure thing here in these playoffs.
Exactly. We saw them going up early by 3 runs and kind of thinking, that might be enough. But very quickly realized the Haar offense was not to be messed with. They could score a lot of runs in a very short amount of time.
That's right, and we see the bases loaded now again with Luis Martin taking that walk as well as that moves Sanchez to second and Llewellyn remains third. Langhorst, number 9 hitter, wearing number 37, center fielder today is at bat. As Michelli comes over with some words of wisdom and encouragement for Kruger. Catcher comes out as well. Probably just a chance to regroup. So Kruger got thrown into this situation earlier this inning when Cowan went down. Not an easy situation to come into, especially for a pitcher that doesn't have a lot of pitching experience. The interesting thing, he's got some good velocity on his pitches. So let's see. A umpire, Kevin Musish, letting them know they've got 3 visits left.
Of course, with the rule changes just a couple of years ago, amount of mound visits per game were limited to 5.
Nice. I like that rule. Keeps
But you
things
get
moving.
one more mound visit every extra inning. It's play. It's
Yeah.
once you get into that territory, it's just almost no limit.
Right. Okay, so the ball gets by the catcher. The base is loaded, yet the damage is limited as Phildrick Llewellyn stays where he is. Here, I'll give this to the Disciples. They really stay in the game. Lots of encouragement from the dugout beneath us. Lots of chatter. They got a little pink pig that they put on the fence as well. And that's a hit down to shortstop. Throw onto first base. It's there as Michelli reaches out, and the inning is over, and the Bonn Capitals leave the bases full. However, score few, and the score is now 6-2 as we head to the top of the 4th here in Bonn and on Caps TV. In the 2nd inning.
That pitch is going to be Murata's 50th of the day. Just one pitch into his 4th inning of work. So there's some more innings in him, one would imagine, if he can keep it going the way it has been going for him so far.
No walks, huh?
No walks, 6 strikeouts, just 1 earned run.
1 earned run, yeah. Looking good so far today, Murata, which we did anticipate. But baseball can be a funny game. We saw lots of good pitchers, especially if you watch the majors, that you expect to do extremely well, but nothing is guaranteed.
So for Rosenthal, bit of a surprise so far. He's been also doing really, really well offensively. 4 hits and 6 at-bats so far in the 2 games. 3 RBIs and a walk. So some good offensive showing by him. You know, of course, was a .225 hitter throughout the season.
I think before that play to end the last inning went out there, I said that I never quite finished my sentence. I said that the Disciples have this little pink pig on the fence, and then it sort of the play happened and we left. What's another foul back? What is really funny is that, and really kind of endearing, that when the Disciples do something positive on the field, they make that pig squeal. And it's funny. So I'm not sure the mics picked that up or not. But if you're wondering why there's the sound of a pig making a bit of a noise, that's what it's from. But again, it's really interesting to see a lot of enthusiasm and cheering from the Disciples bench, even if they're down. They know they're not out of it yet. The score is only 6-2, only 4 runs behind. That's a high pop-up. As you can hear that wind now picking up. Brank positions in himself, and he's got that. No problem for Brank. So, just like that, one down. And that will bring up Thorpe. Got a triple in his last at-bat.
But honestly, that pig, that's a celebration or a team thing that they do that you don't see every day.
Nope.
It's something special they have to themselves, the Disciples.
I'd be interested. Maybe we can get somebody to explain to us why the pig? I'm not going to make another joke about the patent office. And he hits the batter, and that obviously was not intentional. No reason.
That looked a bit dangerous, though, as
Yes.
Kevin Muzic started to walk out in front of home plate, and Thorpe almost hit him with the bat flip towards his own dugout.
Yeah, and I mean, he's smiling on first base. He knows there's no ill intent behind that hit batsman. And again, we hear the pig. We hear the pig grunting beneath us. So that puts Thorpe on first base. He's been on base twice today with a triple, and now hit by pitch. Yeah, that wind now picking up. Switching around a bit, blowing out to center right. Murata sets and delivers. Big hit into center field, but not a problem for Langhorst. And now there are 2 down in the inning.
It was a good looking swing by Michelli. It was right on that fastball. Drove it out to left center field, but stayed up there for Langhurst just long enough for him to be able to make that catch.
And that'll bring up Pinheiro.
I was just about to say, with the wind picking up in more in sudden bursts, it might make some fly balls a bit tougher to catch. The ball taking some weird routes.
Nothing like being an outfielder. You're just camping under the ball and there's a sudden gust and lurches it to your left. So 1-0 is the count with that ball. You can hear them yelling Miggy to Miguel Pinheiro. Bit of an attempt by Thorpe on first. Pretended to go and never did. 2-0 is the count. He misses with that one as well.
Just figuring out the timing, maybe.
Yep.
We'll take off on the next pitch. We'll see.
They're going to get something going. And Brink gets it in the hole, flips it to second on a beautiful play, and that's going to end the inning. So Brink comes through with the bat, Brink comes through on the bases, and he comes through on defense as well. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. The score is 6-2 for the Caps. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 6-2 in favor of the Capitals. And let's take a look at the replay that ended the last inning. Keep your eyes on a man named Brink. Look at that, grab up the hole, on to second base, and that'll end the inning. And guess who's coming up first to lead off the bottom of the 4th for the Bonn Capitals? If you guessed Eric Brink, you would be correct.
There's a new pitcher out there on the mound as well for the Disciples. So Tom Kruger just finished up the bottom of the 3rd. And now it's going to be Daniel Wolf. Started it 4 games so far this season. His record 0-3 in 12 innings pitched. He gave up 17 earned runs on 21 hits. Walked 13 batters, struck out 15. And his ERA sits at 12.75 so far.
So Brink steps in. He's got a walk, and he has a single back in the 1st inning, in which he also stole second and stole third base as well. So speed, glove, running, does a bit of it all. That's what you want from your experienced players. Perhaps your best player on the team this year. Down to third base. That's a foul. This is closer. I thought it looked like it had bounced fair, but it did not. And Brink has to go back.
Underneath the glove of third baseman music as well. So a bit of a lucky break for the Disciples, as that one, if it would have been fair, got nicely into the corner. Just barely fouled though.
Yeah, so 0-2 is the count now on Brink. Wolf on the mound, delivers.
Close pitch.
That looked like a close one, but Musish behind the plate says that is a ball.
Just inside. A pretty close one to take if you're a Brink in an 0-2 hole.
That one's outside. 2-2, so he fights back to even the count.
Wolf out there looking good so far. Looking pretty sharp. Get some good secondary pitches. Of course, the stats show it's been not too successful so far this season.
Yeah,
but strikes out Brink.
Strikes out Brink, and that will be 1 down now in the inning. Bringing up Terrell Joyce. Joyce has walked in his previous 2 appearances at the plate today.
A bit surprisingly, still searching for his first hit of the playoffs. Hitless yesterday.
Yeah, it might be a good time to unleash the power that we know is within.
And it's the righty pitcher. Favors pitchers from that side.
Yeah, he had a pretty good swing on that. Fouls it straight back.
He was right on that. Just fouled it back.
So, yeah, Wolf thrown a couple pitches so far. Looks like he's going to give Bonn a pretty good challenge so far. But a big hit deep to center left field. It goes back, and that ball is gone. Home run for Terrell Joyce. Who's afraid of Mr. Wolf? Not TJ. As he rounds third, he will score, making it 7-2 for the Bonn Capitals here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Very nice shot. There was really hardly any doubt about that one, Tom.
Just a breaking ball that stayed up too much. You can tell the catcher wanted it to be down and away. Oh, and he also hit a car window out there.
Yeah, that
in the
wind
parking lot.
Oh, did it get a car?
It did on a hop. It bounced right towards the window out there. So.
Angela nervously looking to left field to see if that's where she parked. Is that your car, Angela? Oh, she says her car's in another spot. It always makes me laugh, people that park exactly in the spot where the home runs are hit. Another big swing as that one is not going to make it out of here. The left fielder comes over, and he's got that one, and that'll be 2 down now in the inning.
Those two swings, you could kind of see why Wolf's ERA a bit inflated so far this season. Bonn hitters seem to be able to barrel him up pretty well.
Yeah, and not an easy task coming in as relatively inexperienced pitch, I guess you could say, and then facing really the meat of the order as we see Daniel M. Hunt now come up to bat. He also has a big swing. That looks like it's looping into midfield, but second baseman comes over. He's got that, no problem. And we head to the top of the 5th inning. The score is 7-2 in favor of the Capitals. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Wer so aussieht, kann kein Vorbild sein? Wer solch
So und so hat deine Frau sich zu benehmen. Wenn du das so gut könntest, dann brauch ich es nicht, okay? Dann sei du doch diese Frau, hast du mit mir ein Problem.
Und wenn du denkst, die Telekom ist teuer? Check mal das hier.
Possible, but it is tougher with Murata on the hill, no doubt. 3-1 the count now. Nobody out.
Missed on 3 straight. Can't imagine that being intentional. Pitches out of the strike zone. He knows what hitter he's facing. And another one.
Yeah, and he walks Smith, number 9 hitter. I'm not sure that is ideal.
Some close pitches there towards the bottom of the strike zone, but they all missed.
That'll bring up the master of the hidden ball trick, Patrick Music. Murata. 1 on, nobody out. He's got to divide his attention now with Schmidt at first.
Leadoff walks, of course, never something you want to do, especially not to the number 9 hitter. Face the top of the opposing lineup after.
Agreed. And yesterday we saw not only a leadoff walk, but a walk with 2 outs, also very, very bad because it led to very negative outcomes if you are a Bonn fan, very positive if you're a Disciples fan.
Conclusion, if you're on the mound, never walk anyone.
That's a good point. I don't think Murata has walked very many people. It was his
No, that was the first walk of the game.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
His command is usually by far the strongest part in this game. He just mixes up all of his pitches so well and spots them just where he wants them to go. And you can see it in this at-bat at 0-2. He shook off like 5 different pitches before agreeing on that one.
And the delivery. That one's in for a ball. So, 1-2.
Than the Capitals do. Our Disciples total sitting at 5. Capitals scored there 7 runs on just 6 hits.
Yeah, and Bonn has that one error that the Disciples don't. Bonn scored 3 runs in the first, 3 runs in the third, 1 in the fourth. Haar, 2 in the second. And that's where the score stands at 7-2 for Bonn. 2 on here with 1 out. 1-0 the count on Nate Thomas. Just foul on the first base side.
Yeah, off speed. Got him out in front just enough. So that ball rolled foul.
Yeah, he's got a good looking swing too.
Sure does.
So that game there was a game also happening that was supposed to happen today between Hamburg and Regensburg. It ended up being, ironically somewhat, if you're Regensburg, being rained out. That again is fouled.
So they will have to play an additional game in the upcoming week, and they are supposed to have a weekend off. With the series between Doren and Heidenheim starting a week late due to Doren having... They had to play their last 2 games of the regular season to make up games against the Berlin Flamingos yesterday, so couldn't start their quarterfinal matchup. So there will be multiple games happening upcoming weekend. Both Doren and Heidenheim and Hamburg and Regensburg will play.
And another foul down the, well, not first baseline into the dugout area, but on the same side. Nate's hanging in there. Nate Thomas hanging in there against Murata. Nice at bat here. It is a 1-2 count now. Making him work. Nate Thomas is making Murata work. That one's also fouled back. So at second base, just to recap, we've got Neil Schmidt. And at first for the Disciples, Simon Lechner. 1-2 remains the count. He's really driving up that pitch count now. Nate Thomas is. He's doing his job at the plate, making Murata work. Murata looks in at his catcher, flashes a few signs.
And that's really one of the strengths of Nate Thomas out at the 3-hole.
Swing and a miss as he strikes out Nate Thomas.
And just to finish that point, he's not a big power hitter. Only 2 doubles, a triple, and 1 home run in the season, in the regular season. Still in that 3-hole because he puts together some good at-bats, hits for a considerably higher average than most of his teammates. Putting together some quality at-bats, and that's why he's batting where he is.
Yeah, so Callum Murphy at the plate now with 2 out, 2 on. Struck out twice today. 0 for 2. That comes in for a strike as well. If Murphy can get on, you've got Rosenthal next, and then William Thorpe behind him. So we've seen some action by all those hitters.
Yeah,
in the last few
really.
Games.
3 hottest hitters so far in this series.
See another strike. But, yeah, we've seen Murphy really struggle so far with Murata's pitches. So Murata can get out of this. Obviously be happy about that. But he would avoid, again, a threat coming up in Rosenthal and Thorpe. Both have been on base today.
That pitch has worked against Callum Murphy before, the outside slider with 2 strikes. He's recognizing it now, not chasing that anymore.
1-2 is the count now on Murphy. Big swing, but foul. Right side. Kids gallop over.
kind of a mistake pitch by Murata on 2 strikes. That slider came back over the heart of the plate. Not really where you want to put that. Luckily for him, Callum Murphy quite late on that swing. Followed off to the right side. So then it'll go again.
So 7-2 the score here in the top of the 5th inning in Bonn. 2 on, 2 out. That pitch is quite high. It'll be a full count now. Sorry, 2-2 count.
The upcoming pitch is going to be number 86 for Murata. And still in the 5th. It's been a bit of a struggle this inning, pitch count-wise. Disciples not going down without a fight.
Gets him to chase that one, and that'll end the inning on a strikeout. Leaves the 2 runners stranded, and the score as we head to the bottom of the 5th is 7-2 in favor of the Capitals. We'll be right back on Caps TV. Welcome back to Bonn, where the score is 7-2 for the Capitals over the Haar Disciples. Been an interesting game so far, and we're in the bottom of the 5th inning. And Vinny Aarons is at the plate. Flew out to the second baseman his last at bat, struck out previous to that. Sorry. Flew to the shortstop. So for 1. That pitch comes in for a ball. 7-2 is the score. 7 runs for Bonn, 2 for Haar. Haar 5 runs. Bonn 5 hits. Bonn 6 hits. Bonn has 1 error, none for Haar. 2-0 is the count. Kruger still on the mound for the Disciples. That comes in close. That ball gets by the catcher as Aaron runs down to first base. He's walked twice today. I'll bring up Llewellyn, who's really had a game so far. 2 for 4. 4 RBs, 4 ribbies in the game today already for Llewellyn.
And that brings his total up to 8 in just 2 games. Really impressive to see. Nice. He struggled just a bit at the very start of the season, but he got hot just at the right time. Lifted his average to way over 300 by the end of the season, and he's continuing to hit hot here so far in the playoffs.
Yeah, really nice pickup by Bonn this year. Llewellyn is. Aaron's got a lead at first. That pitch comes in high.
And you have to say what really benefited him was to stop switch hitting, which he did at the start of the season, but ever since he started hitting like a true righty again, it's worked wonders. Really good results against the right-handed pitchers when batting from the right side.
That pitch a ball as well. And makes count 2-0. Nobody out yet. Aaron's at first base. 7-2 the score. And another one. 3-0 is the count. I'm going to guess that, well, who knows? Llewellyn is a really is hitting very well, so I'm sure he has the green light. Normally, I would say no, but why not? And that comes clearly in for a ball, and he heads to first base. That's second walk in a row now by Kruger. By Wolf, and Daniel Sanchez will come up.
8 straight balls to start off the Bonn half of the 5th inning.
Yeah, it's tough to. You really put yourself in a tough situation there, walking those first 2 leadoff batters. Sanchez, of course, playing third base for Bonn. He had a single in the 3rd and flew out to the second baseman in the second inning. Takes a few signs from his coach. The runners take their lead. Aaron's at second, Llewellyn at first. Llewellyn already out to a pretty good lead. Aaron's not bad at second. That comes up for strike.
Dishevel's playing the corners in. Expecting Sanchez to bunt maybe. Even though that's not too common with a 5-run lead. Of course, you never know. And just as I say that, third baseman Music gets back into his normal position behind the back.
Got Aaron's dancing around there at second, really distracting the pitcher as Sanchez checks swing, and that goes foul.
Not too happy with himself about that. And he's in the hole 0-2. I mean, this inning that started off with 8 straight balls. Now,
2 strikes.
Wolf in the driver's seat.
Runners take their lead. 0-2 count. On Sanchez. He's wearing snowman on his back, number 8. Delivery by Wolf. And that is a ball. Bonn players have been a little more patient at the plate than we saw yesterday, knowing that Wolf is perhaps having a bit of trouble finding the strike zone. In fact, he is having a bit of trouble finding the strike zone in this inning. That comes in high as well. They're not really close.
Surprisingly, Danny Sanchez as well, one of the hitters in the Bonn lineup. He's got reverse splits. He likes to hit righties more successful. His season average at 261. With the righties, he's hitting pretty well. 303 average, 402 on base. Get most of his RBIs against the righties as well.
Aaron's and Llewellyn take their lead, bases. Another sort of a half swing, and that goes over the fence, foul. So Sanchez hanging in on this 2-2 count, foul a few back now. Yeah, those are interesting stats that you just mentioned. It's really interesting once you start to look at those splits on some of the players and how much better they are hitting in one direction or the other.
Of course, there's not too many lefty pitchers in this league, so the sample size is always going to be a bit smaller against the lefties, but still surprising to see most of these hitters doing better against the righties, even if they're right-handed batters.
And a swing and a miss by Sanchez, and he wasn't close to that one, and he goes down on strikes. That'll bring up Lewis Martin, who had a really nice play out at second base. He scooped one up and tossed it up to Eric Brankett at short to force out the runner at second base. Looked like he might have been roughed up a bit on that play, but we haven't seen anything to suggest that it might have carried over into now. Runners take their lead. Delivery.
He, of course, joined last night's game a bit late and starting the second game, but he's been on base 3 times in 5 tries, walked twice, got a hit. There's some good signs in his offense and his bat.
Yeah, sure, for sure. Runners lead. Wolf looks. Aaron's back at second, and they're going. And a hit down to third. Fast music, and there's no play. Is he going to throw home? Comes home, and he's got him easy. They're suggesting, Aaron's is saying now that he was interfered with at third base by music. We'll let the umpires figure this one out. They're going to huddle. Now, I think that Aaron's may have a point. It certainly wasn't intentional at third base, but there was a bit of a mix at third base. So Wilson Lee also out as the umpire. Both coaches sort of hanging in the wings. And so what we know right now is that Aaron's was thrown out at home plate. Luis Martin Fornow is on first base, and Llewellyn Fornow is on second base.
Right, that was a bit of an odd play as it took the shortstop back out into the outfield grass. Then Arons claiming he was interfered with by third baseman Music.
I think the argument can go either way on that one, Tom. I can see an argument for both sides on this.
And usually when it's that way, umpires are most likely not going to change their call, but stick with their judgment that they had when the situation occurred. But the meeting is taking quite long, and they're placing him. They're calling obstruction.
They are calling
on the third
obstruction.
baseman.
All right.
And calling him safe over there at third. So he's going to go back to third and be safe there.
Okay. Not happy. Music is not happy at third base. I understand why that would be the case. And we hear lots of cries of protest by the Haar disciple dugout.
Your head coach is still arguing with home plate umpire Kevin Muzic about that call.
And Music is still talking to the third base ump as well. Nothing heated. I mean, they're just talking for now. But yeah, that call really could have gone either way. So Bonn, I think, catches a bit of a break as Arons goes back to third and the bases are full.
Now the conversation getting a bit more heated out there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we see the Wolf trying to keep warm on the mound. There's a bit of this lengthy delay. Kevin Music, the umpire at home plate, talking to the head coach of the Disciples. Yeah, and I understand why he's upset. Yeah, probably unlikely to change the umpire's mind at this point.
Of course, once they've made their decision together as an umpiring crew, they're not going to change.
No.
No matter how much arguing is going on.
Yeah, it seemed to be a case of just both players being in the same place at the same time. Nothing intentional about it on Music's part
but
at all.
As a fielder, if you don't have the ball, you can't be in the way of a runner. And I think that's the argument these umpires brought up. Decided was indeed obstruction and placing the Arons back at third base.
Yeah. So back to the present time. Here's what is happening now is that the bases are full. And Lankhorst is at the bat. And there's only one out. And the score is 7-2 here in the bottom of the fifth inning.
For the fourth time in 2 games, the Capitals have the bases loaded.
Let's see if
managed to score only 2 runs. Well, that's the 5th time already.
Yeah. That comes in for a ball. So this positive outcome for Bonn here in Lankhorst could really put the game out of reach. So a pivotal moment in the game. 1-0 delivery by Wolf on the way. And he hits him. Hits Lankhorst. And that will score Arons. Bases remain full, 1 out. Score now is 8-2. That will turn the lineup over. The reason we know that is not intentional. You're not trying to put him on first base to give Eric Brank a bases loaded situation, but that's indeed what is going to be happening right now.
No, that might just be the result, or at least some part of the result of starter Sean Cohen having to leave after just 2 2/3 innings.
Yeah, so the coach is out talking to his pitcher.
And Music still talking about that play.
Yeah, respectful discussion. And a fair one at that. I think everybody wants some clarification on what happened. Coach heads back to the dugout. So Llewellyn is on third base. Martin is at second. Lankhorst at first base. Eric Brank to the bat. Eric Brank struck out in his last at-bat, but walked in the at-bat previous to that. Singled and stole 2 bases back in the first. Big moment for him in this game. Already the score is slipping out of control if you're the Disciples pitcher, Wolf, and for the team. And that bounces to the plate. Catcher bobbles it a bit, but nothing happening on the bases. Wasn't far enough away for them to score.
Get enough of his glove behind that to keep it somewhat close. And you have to figure if there's no runner on third, you might have the other 2 runners advancing on that. The ball being relatively close to home plate, no shot for Llewellyn to score.
Yeah, so 1-0 is the count. Foul back, 1-1 is now.
Good looking swing by Eric Brink.
Count, yeah.
To have the timing down on that fastball.
Wolf in a tight spot here.
On deck, of course, Charles Joyce, who homered off of Wolf earlier.
Yeah, he'll be looking for a ground ball, anything to get that double play in motion. 1-1 delivery. That comes in for a strike. Nice pitch there by Wolf. 1-2 the count. Catcher, I think, perhaps asking about number of mound visits. Just a guess.
Maybe he didn't hear the home plate umpire calling that a strike, so he was asking if he called that.
Yeah, maybe.
Which he did.
Got some wheels on the bases. They are full. 1-2 is the count on Brank and the delivery. Swing. Foul back. Count remains 1-2.
So looked like more of a sinker than a straight fastball. Pretty good pitch on 1-2.
Yeah, wind blowing straight out to center field. You get a 1 up in the air, and that's going to give the ball a little more lift. A little bit of everything in today's game, and if you combine it with yesterday's game, lots of interesting action, interesting plays. Check, swing, and he call it. It's a ball. So, I believe, yeah, 2-2 is the count. And have the scoreboard updated. Delivery, swing and a miss by Brank, and he strikes out. This second strikeout for Brank.
Second time that Wolf got it by him to strike him out. That's the only, that's the third strikeout for him out there on the mound. Second time he found Brank. Now Terrell Joyce.
Yeah, Joyce, he who smoked one over the center left field fence in his last at-bat, has a big chance here to get his offensive numbers rising here in the playoffs. Of course, very good regular season numbers. Delivery. And half a swing. Appeal down. He did not go around, says the first base umpire. Wolf shaking his head out on the mound. Didn't agree with that call.
Dangerous hitter.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't really have to talk about that anymore. But the base is loaded, nowhere to put him. So you'll have to pitch to him somehow.
Oof, boy. Terrell Joyce really giving it all he has there. But overpowered by Wolf on that one. Or outthought by Wolf on that one. Number 33 talking to the catcher behind the plate. Saying probably something along the lines of, I just missed that one. Which would be very true. Wolf looks at his catcher. 1-1 delivery, 2 out here. 8-2 for Bonn. Foul down the third base, almost right into the dugout. Sent one player scrambling. No
Another
harm done.
hack.
Yeah.
Some type of breaking ball he was out in front of. Of course, you don't want to let up if you're the Bonn Capitals. 6-run lead, of course, seems to be somewhat safe, but you never know.
Nope, not in this league. Never know. Wolf, 1-2 delivery on the way. That's a ball.
Just outside on that breaking ball.
Yeah, he's not getting much help from Musers behind the plate. Bonn clapping. The fans, they want some more runs. hungry for blood. Big chopper down to third. Music scoops it up. Called safe at first base. It was definitely a close play. Another run comes in to score for the Capitals. And that would be Llewellyn coming in to score, and that will make the score 9-2. So what happened was that Music got that ball, bobbled it a bit at third, and that allowed, if it's a bang-bang play at first base, it allowed him to be called safe. And we see on the replay, very, very close there. Let's rewind that, and forward.
He was safe.
He was safe, just by a bit. Bang, bang play down there.
And you could see Music really upset about himself.
Yeah.
After that play.
I mean, he did recover from, it was a real hot shot down to third. Not an easy play at all. They don't call it the hot corner for nothing. So credit to him for getting that throw off and making it that close, but to no avail. As Wilson Lee takes a strike, 1-1 account. 2 out here, bottom of the fifth. 9-2 is the score for Bonn. Bases remain loaded with Joyce at first base.
Fell right in there on the top of the zone.
So, Martin at third, Lankhorst at second, Joyce at first base. Wilson Lee at the bat. 1-2 the count. 2 out. Big swing, but goes foul. Music really hustling to get to those balls along the third base line. Make fun a little bit of the hidden ball stuff, but really he's hustling his butt out there at third. Looking good on some plays. Big swing and high, but not deep enough to do much damage. Center fielder camps under it. He's got it, and that'll end the inning. Bonn gets 1-2 runs and leaves the bases loaded. It's 9-2. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Back for the top of the sixth inning, Josef Rosenthal. Starting it off for the Haar Disciples, trying to scramble back from their 7-run deficit. Toru Murata still out through 91 pitches through his first 5 innings of work. So he's back out for, looks like, at least one more, as there's still no action out there in the bullpen. Of course, reliever option number 1 would most likely be Eric Brank, who is out there on the field. So, of course, not able to warm up in the bullpen. That's fouled back off the home plate umpire for strike number 2. Murata has given up only 1 earned run so far. The other one was unearned on 5 hits in total, striking out 8, walking 1. And Rosenthal just get a piece of that fastball to stay alive. Still batting over 500 in the playoffs. 4 hits in his 7 at-bats. Drove in 3. A slow curveball by Murata that's popped up right around the home plate area. Catcher Vinny Arends will make the play. So that's going to be Rosenthal retired for out number 1.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for covering there for me for that hitter. Just a little tour of the fans. Fans all seem to be doing well here at the game today. Really good presence, and the barbecue's fired up, and people seem to be having a really nice time. I know I am. I hope everybody watching is having a good day as well. Murata on the mound. 1 out here in the top of the 6th inning. He's got a 7-run cushion, so he's feeling pretty good out there, I would assume. William Thorpe at bat. That is called for a strike. Nice pitch.
Back-to-back slow curveballs by Murata. Not a pitch he uses a whole lot. But maybe now, 3rd time through the lineup. He's always got some more pitches working for him.
Yeah, so he was hit. Thorpe was hit by a pitch back in the 4th and got a triple in the 2nd. That was a nice hit. That was 1 out to Llewellyn, right? Out
Exactly. The one Llewellyn had go past him.
And that is foul ball. That's a close one. Down the 3rd baseline, but
Turned
made
around
foul.
the third base umpire there.
Yeah.
Just barely missed him.
So we do a little thing here from in later innings of games. We talk about famous dates in baseball history. Oh, I got a couple. It wasn't a lot that I found. Look, in 1978, here on July 23rd, the Yankees win their 5th straight, 3-1 over the White Sox. At the Chicago airport, Billy Martin, as that one's fouled. Hey, good try by Aarons to get to that, but out of luck. So at that airport, Billy Martin reacting to reporters' questions about Reggie Jackson, and George Steinbrenner replies, "The two deserve each other. One's a born liar, the other's convicted." The remarks will cost Billy Martin his job, and not for the first or last time.
That's a great one.
And in 1991, Rob Dibble, just back from a 3-game suspension, is ejected for throwing at and hitting Cubs base runner Doug Descenzo in an 8-5 Reds loss. Temper, temper, boys. Murata delivers. Swing and a miss. He strikes him out.
They're really going a lot with the curveball here in the 6th. Haven't seen that pitch at all the first 5 innings. No. First time these hitters are seeing that pitch. It's effective so far.
Yeah, I got a couple of interesting born on this day and death on this day. Born, Pee Wee Reese back in 1918, Don Drysdale in 1936, Nomar Garcia Parra in 1973. Now, those who died on this game, one thing I'm really interested in, there's some really interesting names. That comes in for a strike on Michelli. 1920, a guy named Buttercup Dickerson died.
That's his actual name?
It's his name, Buttercup. What's up, Buttercup? Murata delivers. That one's dirt, and that's a ball as well. In 1933, a guy named Rip Williams died. Love that name, Rip. And 1996, Red Munger died. And then in 1996, a guy named Ed Wineapple. And a single, no, denied by Lankhorst out in center field. He said, "Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer." Indeed, not a single, but an out. As we head to the bottom of the 6th inning, here in Bonn, the score is 9-2 for the Bonn Caps. We'll be right back.
Keine Runs, es bleibt beim 9-2. Wir gewinnen die 12-6.
We are back in Bonn, where the score is 9-2 for the Capitals. Quick inning, that last one.
Finished off, of course, on a beautiful diving catch by Daniel Lankhorst out in center.
Oh, it was a nice one. Really liked that catch. Put a star by that one.
Nick Michelli, quite unlucky day at the plate for him. Hit a couple of balls pretty hard out into left center.
Good point. Yeah, you're right. He
Daniel
has.
Lankhorst made plays on both of those.
That'll bring up Daniel Lamb Hunt, first baseman for the Caps. Not a hugely successful game at the plate as he hits that into left field, and that's going to land fair and going to go all the way to the fence. Throws it into second, but Daniel Lamhunt in for a double to lead things off here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Nice hit. Hit them where they ain't. Vinny Aarons comes to the plate now.
Even got jammed a bit on that one, it felt like. Still got enough power behind it.
So he'll be happy to be on base, as are the Bonn Capitals fans. So here comes Vinny Aarons. He's, from my count, 2 walks. He's come across the plate twice. Both of those walks coming around to haunt the Disciples.
On base in half of his plate appearances. Walked 4 times, but still looking for his first hit. Hitless yesterday and so far today in this game as well.
After many hours of play, still waiting to get a legitimate hit on. But he's seen home plate a few times.
Sure has. Another long one today, as game time just over 2.5 hours already. Just still in the 6th inning.
You probably hear that across the mic. Sorry for that. Not much we can do about it, but the wind does pick up occasionally and cause some buzzing on the mic. 2-0 is the count. So 9 runs for Bonn on 9 hits and 1 error. 2 runs, 5 hits, no errors for Haar.
Wolf on the mound in his 3rd inning. He's been all right, allowing 3 runs so far. Also striking out 3, walking only 2. Of course, not an easy spot for him as well. Task to throw such a long time, that many pitches. He's coming up on 50 now.
Wow, you're right. 48 pitches. Wow, that's a lot of work. Really coming in on short notice, yeah. Aarons readies himself, 3-0. Figured he'd be watching that one, and he's on. So
5th
first
walk for him.
That's right.
In 2 games.
That's right. So Lamhunt will stay where he is at second. And here comes hot-hating Philjerk Llewellyn. He walked in his last at-bat, but came around to score. He's 2 for 2 on the day. 4 RBIs. Run. He came across once and walked. Aaron's at first, Lamhunt on second. Nobody out here in the bottom of the 6th inning for Bonn.
Base runner's not really getting held anymore.
No. Big swing, but to the right fielder. No tag on the play either. Lamhunt stays where he is. That looked a lot better coming off the bat than the end result, if you're a Bonn fan.
Also a good job by Nate Thomas out and right to get that one back in quickly.
That's right. They didn't move on his arm. Danny Sanchez now. He struck out in his last at-bat. Had a single back in the 3rd and flew out to the second baseman in the 4th. Should mention on that single, he has an RBI on that as well. He drove in Aarons. That was back in the 3rd.
I'm seeing that correctly. That's Eric Brink out there throwing in the Bonn bullpen. So he might be coming in for the 7th inning.
Yeah. Save Murata's arm a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he is at 100 pitches, Murata. So,
yeah.
Pretty likely his day is done.
If you're Bonn, you want to be focusing on this game, winning this game, obviously, but you want to be thinking ahead as well and the possibility of the next start.
It's still going to be 3 more innings, most likely, for Bonn pitching. And Eric Brink, he threw quite a few pitches yesterday.
Yeah, you're right.
He came in the 9th. So his arm probably not the freshest, but looks like he's going to be asked to go possibly all 3 innings.
Yeah, one would think. Again, there's not much depth in either pen right now. That's a ball as well. As Wolf takes some time to readjust. Takes a little walk behind the mound. 2-1 count, 1 out now. 9-2 the score in the bottom of the 6th inning for the Capitals. This is the second of 2 games this weekend. Long one last night. This one is taking its fair share of time as well. What an interesting game. Comes in for ball. 3-1 the count. Sanchez a little more patient this time.
Hasn't walked all weekend.
Yeah.
A few guys in the bottom lineup. As Haar pitching has been racking up quite a few base on balls over the past 15 innings, allowing a total of 18 runs.
So wind picks up a little bit. Runners not being held on, as Tom was mentioning a bit earlier on. 3-1 count with 1 out. Delivery by Wolf. And he will also walk. So that's 2 out of the 4 batters that Wolf has seen he's walked. And bases are familiarly loaded again. I'll get that word right at some point.
Now we might slowly be getting into 10-run rule territory if we want to look that far ahead. 7-run lead still for the Capitals.
So Lam Hunt at third, Aaron's at second, Sanchez at first now. And at the plate, Lewis Martin, who's made a fine play in the field today, and not too shabby at the bat either.
Chased a high one there.
Yeah, he's 1 for 2 with a walk. Yeah, you don't need to help out the pitcher at all. He seems to be digging his own hole. Again, not to be too negative on Wolf, he really was called into a tight spot. But if he's throwing balls, let him throw balls. You don't have to help. That one, clearly a ball. Bottom of the Bonn order, not racking up the numbers offensively, but out in the field, Lewis Martin had a great play at second, and of course Langhorst in the last inning finishing it off with a great play at third. That ball gets by the catcher. The play at home slides, and he is safe as the pitcher, Wolf, drops the ball on the throwback from the catcher. And that'll make it 10-2.
Bit of a risky scent there, in my opinion. The ball didn't get all the way to the backstop. Lampond hustled it out. Just barely beat the throw.
You're right.
Wolf also couldn't catch the throw by his catcher. So everyone moves up 90 feet. The lead is 8 now for the Capitals.
Yeah, so Aarons is at third, and Sanchez is at second on that play. The count remains 2-1 on Martin. Some discussion on the field now for the Disciples in terms of positioning. Things look to be resolved as Wolf steps back on the rubber. (10-2) the score now in the bottom of the 6th. Bonn winning. And a hit to the shortstop. Scoops it, throws it, but the run comes home to score. That will be Aaron scoring on the play to make this score 11-2 now.
Might have had a shot at getting Irons out at home, actually, because he was watching that ball a long time. I had to make sure it went past the pitcher, and Sanchez was already on his way to third, so no chance for Irons but to try to score. But shortstop Colin Murphy did not see Vinny Irons with kind of his delayed start, but instead secured the second out at first base.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one, Tom. There was clearly an option on that. Maybe didn't think he could make it. I mean, the score is spread now. Langhorst to his counterpart out in center. That'll end the inning as he catches that ball. But Bonn comes through with 2. And the score is 11-2 as we head to the top of the 7th inning here in Bonn. We'll be right back in Caps TV.
aussieht, kann kein Vorbild sein? Wer solche Nägel trägt, ist fake? Frauen verstehen nichts vom Game.
Are you mad, Mann? Ich bitte dich.
Und Rap ist nur für Männer? Check das lieber nochmal.
Und Typen wollen mir irgendwas erzählen. So und so hat deine Frau sich zu benehmen. Wenn du das so gut könntest, dann brauch ich es nicht, okay? Dann sei du doch diese Frau, hast du mit mir ein Problem.
Und wenn du denkst, die Telekom ist teuer? Check mal das hier.
And a hit to the second baseman, Luis Martin, on to first, and that's one down. Here in the top of the seventh. The wind picking up. It's gusting. It has been for a while. Sorry about the sound. That'll bring up Neil Schmidt. He walked in his last at-bat. And that one's hit foul. Finds himself in the hole 0-1.
Murata's still looking pretty sharp out there.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Still only walked 1, struck out 9 through 6 1/3.
Yeah, those 2 runs were a long time ago, way back in the second. Feels like ages ago.
That's because it was.
It was. It's been a few long games here. Exciting nonetheless. Always happy to volunteer to do this here with Tom and others as well. Here in the booth. Murata sets and delivers. And that's 2-2 now, the count. It'll be a tough hill for Disciples to come back, to climb. That goes to Brink. Looks routine. Makes it routine. 2 down. Well, we know Brink's arm is pretty warm. He spent some time in the bullpen.
That's thinking he might warm up even further and set up for a proper hard throw to first, but he just nonchalantly threw it on the run.
Yeah.
Put on the money.
Makes it look easy.
I could never.
You play a pretty solid third base. I've seen you. I don't know if I would say Brink-like, but it's decent.
Well, thanks.
Murata has a smile there. I'm not sure exactly what they're laughing about, but a bit of levity this late in the game. It never hurts. 11-2. Speaking of ways to make myself laugh, how would you like to answer a trivia question, Tom?
I would love to.
All right, and there's an attempted bunt there, but nothing doing. Let me finish off my writing down that last play. And if I can find it, it's here somewhere. All right. Detroit Tigers pitcher, Joel Zumaya. Joel Zumaya once missed 3 games after injuring himself doing what? And it's multiple choice.
Oh, God.
He missed 3 games after injuring himself doing what? A, wrestling with his dog. B, hold on, playing Guitar Hero. C, pretending to be Dave Steeb on the mound. You'll get that if you listen to yesterday's game. And D, playing basketball. Which of those 3? Why did he miss 3 games after injuring himself?
I feel like somewhere at some time. Give me the inning break to think about that.
All right.
I'll answer it next half inning.
Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Saved by Daniel Lamont at first base. We had we go to the bottom
Google
of the
quickly.
We go to the bottom of the 7th. 11-2 is the score in favor of Bonn. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Das ist Mia. Mia hat zu Hause einen richtig schönen Designboden, der aber auch leider oberflächige Schäden und tiefe Kratzer aufweist. Dr. Schutz hat dafür die Lösung mit Produkten für die Reinigung und Pflege, wie das Designboden-Pflegeset und um tiefe Kratzer zu beseitigen, das Scratch Fix Repair Set. Und damit Mia genau weiß, wie man ihre Böden zu Hause perfekt pflegt und schützt, gibt es unsere Tutorials auf dem Dr. Schutz YouTube-Channel. Für Mia und euch alle. Damit muss sich Mia nicht mehr um ihre Böden sorgen, sondern kann ganz beruhigt unsere Caps anfeuern. Go Caps!
Check this out.
It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before, because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow. First thing.
No time for borders. Gotta stay in control to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
Welcome back to Bonn. Score is 11-2. Favor of your hometown heroes. Guess who's coming to the plate? He wears number 30. He plays shortstop for the Bonn Capitals. I will give you a moment. It is Eric Brink. So I didn't give you any time at all. And I made sure Tom stayed off his phone during the break so that he can answer the trivia question. I'm going to repeat that question real quick, just in case there's a home run and this game ends due to the mercy rule. Again, I asked, Detroit pitcher Joel Zumaya once missed 3 games after injuring himself doing what? A, wrestling with his dog. B, playing Guitar Hero. C, pretending to be Dave Steeb on the mound. Or D, playing basketball. What is your answer, Tom?
So as I just told you, I feel like I read that somewhere at some point. I feel like it was playing Guitar Hero, wasn't it?
Yes, you were right. As much
Couldn't
as I
get
hate
me
to say
today.
it. So on the Xbox 360 version of Guitar Hero 2, the credits read, "No pitchers were harmed in the making of this game, except for one, Joel Zumaya. He had it coming."
That's a great one.
And that ends your trivia question for today. Here, Eric Brink is in the hole, 0-2. He struck out in his previous 2 at-bats, but did much better at the beginning of the game, walking walking once and then singling back in the first. Singling.
And he's facing new pitcher on the hill. Last of the Haar pitching staff we haven't seen so far this weekend. It's Adriano Penskova. Appeared in 7 games, threw a total of 7 innings so far. 1-0 record with an ERA of 7.71. Struck out 6, walked 6, earned 6 runs.
That's a hard name, Adriano Penskova. Anyway, Brink hits it into right field. Flips that back in nonchalantly, and he's got a single. He finds himself back on base. Leadoff runner is on for Bonn. We're inching closer to a mercy rule ending here, potentially. Not to count chickens before we hatch, but Terrell Joyce has already parked one today. And he's at bat with Brink on first. I believe the difference has to be 10 runs after 5 innings, correct? Or 7 innings?
10 runs after 7 innings, and
Yeah.
there's also 15-run rule. That's after 5 innings, or a 20-run rule after 4 innings of play. We haven't seen that today.
Oh, and a single back to the pitcher. Throws to second. Tries for first. He's got it. Is Terrell Joyce. Wasn't running too hard down the line, and that erases that threat from the bases immediately for the Disciples with 2 out now, bottom of the 7th, and Wilson Lee at the bat.
It was hit very hard, right back to the pitcher though. And no problem turning that double play.
No, it was pretty easy. At least at second, there was some question whether he'd make an accurate throw to first, but he did, of course, and that was it. So Wilson Lee takes ball, flew out to center, flew out, that was in the 5th, flew out to left field in the 4th. Fielder's choice that was on in the 3rd. Can't remember what happened back in the 1st. That was a couple days ago now. But
he's 0 for 4 today.
Yeah, he's 0 for 4 officially.
1 hit in his first 9 playoff at bats.
Yeah, so that first inning must have been a walk then. My scorecard just as a blank. He came around to score. That's what I have. 2 fielder's choice. Thanks, Andrew. (3-1) the count. Adriano Penscofa. I hope he doesn't mind if I use his initials, AP. It's a long name to say. Very interesting name. I believe of Bavarian origin. See Music coming out on the mound and the coach coming out. I'm wondering if we have an injury here. Limping a bit, it seems. Camera is... Okay, we didn't have a clear view of it. I think it might be something on his hand. And the coach's head back. It seems to be nothing too concerning at the moment. Disciples coaches go back to the dugout. Daniel Lamb Hunt at the plate now.
So, of course, one more run would end it here in the 7th.
Yeah.
Send the Capitals home early and tie the series.
And he wanted to check that swing. But he takes a strike on that. 0-1 is the count. 2 outs. Wilson Lee on the bag. On first. Throw back, but he's in. That's closer than I thought.
So just maybe looking forward to the remainder of the series, which is scheduled for next weekend, where these 2 teams will meet in Haar.
Big hit into right field, but right fielder's got it, and that will end the inning. No runs despite the threat, and we'll have to get back to that, Tom, as we come back in the top of the 8th. 11-2 is the score. Favor of Bonn. We'll be right back on Caps TV.
Auch die ersten 6 bei den Caps. Starter, Torwärter, nicht mehr auf die Maus, Applaus, Fernand, Starter. Übergibt mit 9 Run-Führung an den Mann mit der Rückennummer 30, der jetzt von der Position Shortstop auf den Mount wechselt, Eric Gregg.
I'm sorry, my bad.
It's all right. They were pretty good stats.
All right. He threw .2 innings yesterday, allowed 3 hits and 2 runs, who are both credited to Danny Sanchez.
Strikes out Lechner. 1 down. Keep going. Also, Tom, before I forget, you were telling us about the road ahead,
right.
So let's not forget about that.
This year is going to be finished in Haar. Given the fact that Bonn most likely will win this game, there's going to be probably at least 2 more games. First one is going to be played on Saturday, 29th of July. First pitch will be at 4 p.m. And then the remainder of the games will be played the following Sunday. Game 4, if needed, will start at 1 p.m. by current plans. Of course, subject to change. And then if they have to play a Game 5, it will be right after, starting at about 4:30 in the afternoon.
All this in Haar.
All this in Haar.
Wow, I know the Bonn players are extremely excited to see the metropolis of Haar. Sorry, I know I said I'd stop. And the count here is 2-1 with 1 out. 11-2 the score. I know everybody's excited to see the appeal of Patton's office.
I sure would be. Maybe.
I know you'll be first in line. Hope this game ends early. I know they need to get to sleep early down there in Haar. Get up early for that patent office. On the mound, Eric Brink. Nate Thomas earns himself a walk, and he finds himself on first. So after that strikeout, he walks one.
Some life maybe in the Haar offense. Haven't seen too much out of them ever since that second inning.
And
they scored both of their runs so far this game.
Callum Murphy coming up. So good in yesterday's game. Not so good at the bat.
Until now.
Until now. He finds himself with a single. So Callum Murphy, enjoying the return of Eric Brink to the mound. He did not like much of Toru Murata. And now, here in the top of the 8th inning, the Disciples have 2 on and only 1 out. Nate Thomas at second base, Murphy at first, Rosenthal at bat. Way back in the second inning, he had a single and came around to score. One of Why, hello again. It is the bottom of the 8th inning in Bonn. 11-2 is the score. Favor of the Capitals. Vinny Aaron's at the bat. He walked in the last 3 appearances at the plate and flew out in the first, shortstop. But on 3 each of those walks, he came around to score.
Effective base running.
Yeah.
You could say. But now would be a good time to get his first hit of these playoffs. Get that out of the way.
Yeah, I concur. It's quite the interesting number. 0 for 1 officially, but 3 runs and 3 walks. Great. Love it.
Great patience. Great eye as well.
Absolutely. And that's a ball. He knows when he sees one, apparently. 2-1 the count. In the hole, on deck is Phildrick Llewellyn and then Danny Sanchez in the hole. Really good-looking swing on that by Vinny Aarons, but fouled back.
Just cut under that baseball slightly.
Penskofa for 15 pitches to this point. 1 walk. Only 1 inning pitched. Looking all right out there, though. Aaron digs in. Aaron's digs in, I should say.
He might walk again.
Yeah, he might walk again. And, I would like to congratulate us for not making those Haar puns that we were thinking of.
I think you were thinking of those because I don't know.
And
it's too close. It's too easy.
Yeah, and so
right?
that's a strikeout for Penskofa. He strikes out Aarons, and there's 1 down in the inning. It's easy, but we rise above those petty comments.
Sure did.
Oh, as the umbrella starts to come down on us here. Somebody up above doesn't like the hard jokes. But even God can't stop me now. As there's a gathering on the mound, meeting of the minds. It's just a mini tornado, don't worry.
There is going to be another pitching change.
There is. So we're going to take a break.
Für die Haar Disciples mit der Rücknummer 21, Konstantin Toffel. geht's also mit dem Neumann auf die Mount für die Caps jetzt.
We have returned here in Bonn now that the new pitcher is warmed up, and Tom's going to tell us all about his long history.
Fifth pitcher to pitch tonight, or today, for the Haar Disciples. It's Konstantin Teufel. Just his second time on the mound this season, through only one scoreless inning the entire year of the regular season. But he was warming up. We both looked at each other and said, like, he's got some good velo. He's got some good pitches.
Yeah, he's got good speed on those. I don't think I could hit him. I don't think I can hit many of these pitchers, but definitely not him. Catcher gives it the old college try, but just over the fence, foul. 1-1, 1 out. Double one for Bonn, 11. Versus 2 runs for the Disciples.
You have to feel like this game is most likely done. Doesn't really seem like anyone out here on the field on either side still wants to change too much about the results of the game.
And whoa! And they wait this long to bring out the Teufel? Where they should have brought him in earlier. This guy has a good arm.
Maybe a bit wild. We'll see about that.
Yeah. I think that Llewellyn took one step back there. Fouled back. Boy, he's a different look, that's for sure, for the Capitals.
That's a big swing.
Yeah. It's awkward looking. It always feels a little awkward out there when you take a hack, but yeah, we have the paused on the screen here. And that awkward swing. Trust me, boys, it would look much worse if I did it. Back to the pitcher. On to first. Llewellyn retired. There's 2 out. I see Cowan down in the dugout, sort of on the lip of the dugout as I look over. He looks, I mean, we were a little concerned about him when he was taken out earlier on in the game, but he looks, I mean, who knows, but he looks better. Thank goodness for that. Hope he's well. Here in the bottom of the 8th inning, there are
Got a
2
pinch
out.
hitter.
Ah, yes.
On the side of the Capitals, that's Leonard Vela pinch hitting for Danny Sanchez. Probably going to play third as well.
Yeah.
For the top of the 9th.
So, Teufel has the ball. To Wella. That is a strike. 2 out, bottom of the 8th inning. 1-1 is the count. Vela, haven't seen him in a while. At least I haven't personally. And he's out in front of that. Swings and misses. It's in the hole now, 1-2. To the dulcet tones of AC/DC Thunderstruck.
Leonard Vela, he struggled a bit throughout the regular season. Hit only 111, 4 hits and 36 at-bats. And he strikes out looking here.
That'll end the inning. 11-2 is the score in favor of the Capitals as we head to the 9th, top of the 9th. Here on Caps TV, we'll be right back.
Batting average now between regular season and playoffs.
Another pinch hitter, I believe. We had scheduled Miguel Pinheiro. Another, let us catch up here. Number 33.
We'll have a look at the lineup sheet. And that is going to be Felix Ströll. In his first at-bat all year, from what my stat sheet suggests.
As the wind reminds us that this game has been a bit over 3 hours, urging us to keep going.
All right, it's Ströll's second at-bat on the season, or his third plate appearance. Walked once and scored a run in 2 plate appearances. Still looking for his first hit.
Right, so Wallace on first base. And credit to the Disciples, still very vocal in their dugout. Strikes him out, though. His first at-bat. Schultz.
Good looking curveball.
Yeah, it was nice.
Right through the middle.
So 2 down. Down to their last batter, or last out. And that'll bring up Schmidt to the plate. Is the number 9 hitter in the order. One 0 count. Bonn can hang on, and it looks like they might. We'll see another couple games next weekend, but those will be in Haar.
You can start to tell everyone's had a really long weekend of baseball. Combined game time of coming up on 8 hours now, and just in the span of 24 hours.
Yeah, and a bit of a feeble swing and a miss there. So, yeah, thanks again. I know I mentioned it before, but thanks for volunteering your time, Tom, those 8 hours.
Well, thanks to you for being here, for agreeing on suffering through both those games with me by your side.
I had a great time. I love it. Love everything about it.
Me too. Me too.
And he strikes him out, and that will end the game finally here in Bonn. So Bonn Capitals, 11 runs on 10 hits, 1 error. Haar has 2 runs on 7 hits and no errors. We have been very happy to do this game. Tom, before I sign off, I know you've had a long few hours doing this game and the ones before. Any final thoughts on what you saw in today's game and maybe as the weekend as a whole?
Well, the Haar offense definitely quite surprised us through both games, especially yesterday, where they looked really strong, really got to the bomb pitching well, and got a deserved win in Game 1. Game 2, a bit of a different story, of course, due to, and also Eric Brank to finish off the game. So strong win in Game 2. I think split is, both teams should be happy with the split, by the way these 2 games have gone. And the series is going to be decided next week in 2-3 games in Haar.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Tom. And thanks to everybody who was watching online as well. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of jokes, had a lot of good humor and some good exchanges with people, but we very much appreciate everybody watching and chiming in on behalf of Tom and Angela and Max and Fabian. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.
Tschüss zusammen.